Hello, hello. Andrea Carvalho here, the body recomposition coach for women over 30. And welcome to this mini training on how to stay lean and fit on vacation without counting macros or missing out on all of the delicious foods. I just came back from a 3.5 week vacation down in Brazil. And I had the most amazing time with my family, had multiple events, had a blast, really. And I was able to maintain my physique, to maintain my shape, and not gain weight while I was there. And I'm going to be sharing with you all of my secrets, all of the systems and steps that I typically follow whenever I am going on vacation. I've been, for the past few years, I've been on multiple different types of trips where I was able to stay on track with my fitness goals at the same time that I was able to enjoy and have a really good time. Um, for that specific trip while enjoying the food, the people, and whatever the case may be. This is a highly, highly requested training because a lot of women share with me that they struggle whenever they are off of their regular routine, when they go on vacation, when you're traveling for work. And especially now during summertime, there's so many events going on, barbecues, get-togethers, potlucks, you name it. And many women feel that they're really good when things are under control on their regular routine, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday. But then whenever something like this happens, it feels almost impossible to be able to, number one, continue to stay on track and continue to feel that they're making progress, and number two, not default back to feeling guilty. So either you go and go super overboard and come back feeling guilty for that. You don't truly enjoy the moment. You know that you're quote unquote doing something wrong and derailing your progress. And when you come back, you just try another crash diet, or you just go on that vacation and you can't relax and you can't enjoy anything. You feel like you need to be, bringing your own food, bringing the food scale, and being very meticulous. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to maintain your progress. And I'm here to show you that there's a middle ground. There's a gray area between the black and white, and that's where we're going to be landing. And I'm hoping that this mini training helps you to find that middle ground for you, to find that gray area for you. So this is going to be a bit of a longer video. So go ahead and click on the 2x if you're anything like me, you watch all of the videos with the 2x speed. There's something weird going on with the video. I'm hoping that that's not going to be on the recording. But if it is, I apologize in advance. I honestly don't know what it is. And grab pen and paper or have your phone handy to take notes. If you have questions along the way, take notes of that and send me a DM on Instagram. I'll be happy to answer those. But yeah, watch this video with your full attention. Try not to multitask and grab the main ideas from this and implement it right away. Okay. That's the best way for you to learn. And that's the best way for you to ingrain the new ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you here. Some of the things that I'll be sharing is not very common for most people. And some of the things might sound too simple. But it is simple, but it doesn't mean that it's easy to implement, especially if you come from a background of being very obsessed with a very healthy diet or very strict food rules, or crash diets on and off throughout the past few years. If you're coming from that background and you think that it's hard for you to find that middle ground, you either go super on or super off. This new ideas might take a little bit of time for you to absorb, to implement, and to actually understand how to make it applicable to your own lifestyle. It was the same thing with me. It didn't come as natural. Now I've been on this journey for a very long time. But in the beginning, it wasn't as easy as it sounds. In the beginning, whenever I would go on vacation, it would be a free for all, YOLO kind of life. And I would come back bloated, and I don't even remember how much my weight fluctuated up. And yeah, I would feel gross. I would feel that I just ruined all of my progress. And then I would have to go on this super strict diet in order to, just get back on track. And it doesn't have to be that way. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. How to stay lean and fit on vacation without counting macros or missing out on all of the delicious foods. Figured it would be easier to share the full screen. So, like I said, I spent 19 days in Brazil visiting my family after not being there for the last 5 years. I've been away from home, so I moved away from Brazil in 2015, so in 9 years ago. But it had been 5 years since the last time that I visited them. And we had multiple events. I had the main event that I was going to attend was my brother's wedding. And we took the opportunity to, get together with the family and baptize Melissa. We have a huge family. So just the baptism reception, we had like 85 people. And we traveled a lot too, because our family is big and they are spread in multiple different cities and even states in Brazil. So it was a very hectic and busy trip. It wasn't the typical vacation where you go and explore and get to know new places and you have your own schedule, or you go to a resort and you just enjoy the resort and the drinks, the margaritas, and nothing like that. It was a lot of work, especially with a 7-month-old baby, and everyone wanting to meet her. So it was go, 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 go all the time. I came back feeling like I need a vacation from a vacation. But anyways, I feel like it's important to give you the background. So if you face something similar, some kind of trip that's similar, which has happened with many of my clients before, just know that there's a way around it, that there's a way to stick to your fitness goals while still, enjoying time with your family. And I have to mention also that we Brazilians, Latino culture, our love language is food. And don't you dare say no to food when you are in a Brazilian Latino home. You don't. You have to eat. It's very rude to say no to food in a Brazilian household. And the food is delicious, I have to say. So that's another thing to add to the context that I want to start with. Okay. Now, many people would assume that because, I got in a very good physique shape, right? Like at this point in my postpartum journey, I started a fat loss phase in February to get leaner for this wedding now in May. And I got very lean, almost as lean as I was before pregnancy. While still breastfeeding, I'm still breastfeeding. That's still my priority. But I'm now 8 months postpartum. And many people would assume that because of that, to maintain that result, I needed to be very meticulous with what I was doing, bring my food scale or track all of my macros meticulously, walking around with food containers everywhere, work out for hours every day, and, hit all of my targets every single day, just like I do here at home. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I didn't do any of that. And still, I was able to maintain my weight, maintain my six pack, stay lean and fit while I enjoyed all of the foods. Okay, so this is my before vacation, after vacation comparison. And on the second picture, I have to say this was like 1 hour after I landed at the airport back home, back here in Canada. So I'm swollen, I'm bloated. There was a 10-hour flight with an infant, so I barely slept. So there is a lot of water retention in there, a lot of, a lot of inflammation. Yet I came back 2 pounds heavier on that day. A couple days after, once I got back to, just drinking water, eating regular food, resting, truly sleeping well, then I lost those couple pounds and a little bit more. And then I got sick and then I lost a little bit more, but that doesn't count. But anyway, so I can consider that I pretty much did not gain any weight throughout this vacation. And important to mention that I did not do any crash diet before the trip. I did not do any 6-week shred plan or detox plan or none of that, or my calories got really, really low. It didn't, because again, I was still breastfeeding. So my calories were needed to remain at a very conservative level to not impact on my milk supply. And I'll mention this because I know many people will say, oh, but yeah, so that's easy for you because you're breastfeeding. And when you're breastfeeding, you burn so many calories. And that's why you're able to stay fit like that, blah, blah, blah. Yes, honey. But the problem with that is with the increase in calorie needs, there's an increase in hunger as well. So it's not that easy. Okay. It's not that easy. Yes, breastfeeding allows me to have a little bit more food because it does increase how many calories my body needs per day, but it does also increase my hunger. So it's the same thing. It's the same damn thing. And it's the same level of effort to stick to a specific calorie intake. Okay. It's just at a higher level. That's it. But it's pretty much the same. Okay. So again, I didn't do any crash diet before the trip, nor I went into it with the YOLO mindset. Like, oh, you only live once. I haven't been in Brazil for 5 years, so I'm going to go all in. I did not go with that mindset. Okay. I had a flexible approach. I had a flexible mindset, knowing that I wasn't going to have the same structure as I have at home. Okay. But also knowing that I could still very much control what I could control. And I'll explain what I mean by that within the next slides. But anyways, this is me while I was, while I was there. As you can see, like, this is right after Melissa's baptism, for example. We have a huge reception and lots of foods and so on and so forth. Anyways, my quads are still popping, and everything like that. But before I get into the strategy that I used, it's important to give you some context, okay? Because I just don't want people to assume things. I have been consistently tracking macros for years, okay? I have been consistently lifting weights for years. I was not trying to lose fat while on vacation. So that wasn't my goal. My goal was to maintain. I purposefully chose to not be on a fat loss while on vacation, and that was discussed with my coach. I don't live in a calorie deficit all year long. I just do a calorie deficit whenever I want to go through a fat loss phase, get a little bit leaner, and then we get out of it, okay, and stay around maintenance. No foods are off limits, but I always focus on maintaining a balance, about 80-20 to food choices. So 80% of the time, 80% of the foods that I eat are whole foods, single ingredients, simple foods, nothing out of this world, simple foods. And 20% are going to be the fun foods, the delicious foods that we all enjoy. Okay. Another mindset shift that helps me is to think that 3 weeks is equivalent of 5.7% of the year. That's it. So how I look on vacation, how I look post-vacation, what I look year-round depends mostly on what I do for the remaining 94.3% of the year. Okay. So I can't let what happens in 3 weeks determine what I'm going to be doing for the remaining of the year. And the type of vacation also allowed me for more flexibility. Okay. So there's different types of vacations. There's different types of travel, different types of, how you're going to be spending that time away. And that also can be, not good or bad, but it can be more or less conducive to you being able to stick to your goals. Okay. So I think it's important to mention that this is not my first rodeo. I've been on this journey for many, 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 many years. I've made a ton of mistakes in the past, and including the mistake of thinking that, like vacation, it was impossible to stay fit on vacation and to come back not gaining weight. I used to believe that. But through consistently tracking my macros over the years and learning about nutrition and meal planning and following meal plans and learning about food choices, lifting weights and building muscle, I was able to do what I do now. Okay. Another important component was, again, I was in a fat loss phase since February, and the goal was to getting leaner for my brother's wedding. My coach and I, we agreed to not pursue fat loss and start a diet break, which means a period where we're sticking to maintenance calories. Okay. So when you are on a fat loss phase, you're eating on a deficit, right? You're eating less than you burn. And then whenever we go into a diet break or maintenance phase, whatever you want to call it, we are eating around maintenance calories. So we're eating the same amount of calories that our bodies need to maintain our current body weight. So that was the goal going into it. Okay. And that is really important, setting up the expectations ahead of time so you're not frustrated when you get back home. Okay. And so, yeah, we agreed on that. And I was giving a range of calories and protein. And we knew that I needed to be more flexible, and I wouldn't have all of that structure that I typically have at home. So I needed to have that flexibility of just looking at calories and protein instead of looking at all three macros. Again, I have been tracking macros for almost a decade. Um, and I have been through multiple phases of fat loss, building, recomposition, maintenance, have a solid foundation of habits already in place. Lots of things are non-negotiable for me. I don't have to think about it. So that makes things easier to execute. And just a parenthesis on that. Whenever you create a solid foundation of habits already in place, such as simple things like drinking water, simple things like saying no to foods that are not worth the calories, saying, filling your plate with vegetables, walking every day, things like that. And it becomes so automatic for you. It becomes part of who you are. And over time, as you continue doing these things, this part of who you are, it's just easier for you to stick to. It's like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth when you go on vacation, you still brush your teeth because that's what you do. So when you look at your fitness journey, not with a start date and a finish line here, but as a lifestyle that you want to build, you want to be able to include that vacation in there. You want to be able to include going away for a little while in there and knowing how to navigate that. And that's a skill that you learn over time with repetition. Okay. And as I said, I had planned, why is it doing this? I had planned for this trip with months in advance. I didn't come to my coach, hey, I'm traveling tomorrow, what should I do? or had gone on a 6-week shredding program just because I have this vacation and I have to rush to get there. So always plan in advance. Just know that things don't happen overnight. And you'll most likely need support. You most likely need guidance. Again, I'm a coach and I still need a coach. And it was incredibly helpful to hold me accountable and to create this plan with me. going into this trip and knowing what to do and what to focus on. So consider asking yourself the following questions to help you with your planning. How do you want to approach this? Number 2, which phase of your body recomposition journey are you? Fat loss, maintenance, build? Number 3, what does success look like for you after the trip? This is the most important question here. What do you want to have happened when you come back? How do you want to be feeling? How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel about your body? How do you want to feel about the memories that you created while you were traveling? How do you want to feel? What do you want to have happened? Number 4, what do you want to have experienced on this vacation? Number 5, what type of vacation is this? What type of trip is this? Are you going to a resort? Are you going to Europe and you're going to walk a lot? Are you going to, I don't know, to the mountains? Are you going to be hiking? Are you going to be doing nothing but the beach? Are you visiting family members? What kind of trip is this? So that will determine a lot. That will help determine the plan that we're going to be creating for you. Okay. And knowing which phase of your journey you're in is also important. Very rare, I will suggest that people go on vacation while on fat loss. Unless you have a lot of fat already to lose and there's a lot of wiggle room to do that in a more intuitive way, I would not recommend that. I would recommend a diet break. I would recommend maintenance calories and going with the goal of maintaining. Had I been, let's just imagine a scenario that I was prepping for a physique show or prepping for a photo shoot or something really important that I wanted to be and I needed to be really lean or reach a specific physique with a deadline, and I had this trip right now, my approach would have been totally different. And I probably, if possible, I would not have booked the trip around this time if I was on a prep. So just because I don't think it would have been realistic to expect me to stay so on point, not so on point, but so strict in that specific scenario. So just understand which phase of the journey you're in, what your goals are, what do you want to achieve, what do you want to have happened when you come back. Because if you are on a fat loss phase, let's do a diet break. Let's focus on maintenance calories. Let's stay and maintain the results that you've got up until this point, and then we continue on when you're back. It puts a lot less pressure on you on the choices that you're making while you're there. Then when you come back, if you had lost a little bit of weight, that's a nice surprise, but you don't have that expectation. Your expectation is to stay within the same range. And understand that it's a range. Maintaining your weight is a range. It's not necessarily the same exact, let's say 150 pounds. It's not going to be necessarily 150. It could be 150, between 148 and 152. It could be a range. But always know and set the right expectations up front. So when you come back, you're not frustrated. And so you're not, while you're on vacation, you have that in the back of your mind and you can't stop thinking about how you're messing up your results. Okay. So like write it down. Maintaining is progress. If you've been on a fat loss and you go on vacation, you are on maintenance and you are maintaining your weight when you come back, that is progress. Okay. Next, I asked myself those questions, those same questions that I just mentioned here, the 5 questions, and communicated with my coach in order to create a game plan going into it. One thing that we also discussed is the concept of emotional value. Okay. What does it entail? What is emotional value? What exactly am I talking about here? So, for example, a trip to Italy for your honeymoon will probably be handled a little bit differently than a monthly business trip. Emotional value is how special this meal in this moment with these people is to you. For example, again, like I mentioned, how this whole vacation was for me. It had been 5 years since I last visited my family in my home country. It is part of the Brazilian culture to show love through food. Sharing a meal my mom cooked that reminds me of my childhood has a much bigger emotional value for me than any restaurant meal. Okay. So this is the concept. So if I were to choose a meal to indulge on and to have a little bit more flexibility going into it and not have any guilt whatsoever, would have been the meals my mom cooked as opposed to any other restaurant or fast food meal that I can have anywhere. Does that make sense? So it's important to have those things in mind as well. For example, the trip to Italy, right? It's your honeymoon. It's a different type of trip than your monthly business meetings, or if you're, if you're going away with your coworkers for whatever reason, right? It's different. There's a whole lot more emotional value attached to that. However, not all meals are high emotional value meals. For example, when we were on the road, like I said, we were on the road a lot. I stuck to my protein shake, or I even fasted, because random fast food meals from the road doesn't hold any special value for me and could potentially just offset my entire day's worth of calories. So I chose to be very non-emotional about it and very objective. That's the word that I'm looking for. Objective with how I was choosing to eat while we were on the road, right? This is not a very black and white situation. There's a lot of gray area in between, and that's very individual to each one of you, okay? But the key here is having the skills and knowledge to balance it all in a way that's still effective for your goals, for your physique, and even for your mental health. Because the important thing is for you to be on this trip and be relaxed and be able to be present and be able to enjoy. But also knowing that enjoying doesn't mean stuffing your face until you feel sick. Because if you do that, you're probably not going to enjoy anyways, because you're going to feel like shit. So that is a skill that's mastered over the years, over time. And remember your goals, where you are in your journey, and what trade-offs you're okay with. We're going to talk about trade-offs in a bit. Now, more into the nitty-gritty of what exactly I did, okay? So if you didn't know, the total weekly calories is what determines weight loss, weight gain, or weight maintenance, okay? Even though we track weight, we have daily targets, and that's incredibly helpful because daily targets helps us have structure and routine and rhythm. And that helps with consistency, and consistency leads to results. So I'm not negating that having daily targets are important. That's not the point here. The point is, at the end of the day, what matters most for weight maintenance, weight loss, or weight gain is the total amount of calories consumed over the course of the week for weeks in a row. Okay? So in my case, instead of tracking all of the 3 macros, protein, carbs, fats, in fact, I was not really tracking. I was more so following a meal plan and inputting my meal plan in MyFitnessPal. I think that that's the easiest thing in the world. But anyways, instead of looking at the 3 macros, because I wasn't going to be following my meal plan down in Brazil, I just had to stay within a calorie range and hit my protein goal. If I could stay between 2,300 calories and 2,600 calories, I think that was the range. Yeah, 23 and 26, and hit 150 grams of protein a day, that was good enough to maintain my weight. Again, I'm breastfeeding, and that's why my calories are so high. I'm breastfeeding, okay? And again, I'll mention again, yes, it allows me to eat more, but it also increases my hunger. So not that easy. So just a little bit of a visual of what that looks like, what focusing on weekly averages look like. So basically, you have here week 1 calories, week 2 calories. The total overall calories are the same, 10,500. Here you have Monday, 1,500 calories, Tuesday, 1,500, 1,500 every single day, Monday through Sunday. Same calories every single day. On week 2, you had 1,500 for on the first day on Monday. Then on Tuesday, you had a little bit less, 1,200. And then on Wednesday, you had more, 2,000. And then Thursday, a little bit different. And then Friday, different. And then Saturday. But the total weekly average, 10,500. It's the same. Okay. So what do you do with your calories on a daily basis make much less of a difference than your weekly and monthly totals. So if weekly intake and daily protein are on point, you should have very similar results, regardless of the daily intake. Again, I will emphasize the importance of having daily targets. We work with daily targets because they help create the structure, the routine, the rhythm. And it's important to have that and manage hunger and manage satiety and manage performance as well. But in a situation, we're talking about going on vacation. We're talking about having a little bit of flexibility and having that understanding of, okay, if I don't have my regular routine, what should I do? So now we know that if you're able to stick to your calories on Monday, but then on Tuesday, I don't know, maybe on Wednesday, you already know that on Wednesday, you're going to have a larger meal. So on Tuesday, you just shave off a little bit and you fast, you skip the first meal. Or you eat a little bit less of everything throughout the day, and you know that you're going to be eating less calories to make room for Wednesday, right? And then you eat, that's going to be the biggest day. And then on the rest of the week, you kind of go a little bit lighter. So knowing how to do that is so extremely helpful. This can also be called managing your calorie budget. When you become an expert in managing your calorie budget, it becomes so easy to maintain your physique. So easy, especially in a vacation like I was now, where things were very unpredictable. So I didn't know exactly what we're going to be eating, where we're going to be eating, nothing. Because again, we were on the road, we were visiting different family members and things like that. So there were days where I probably did not hit not even close to my targets. But there were days that I went a little over. And there were days that I stayed pretty much on point. So those days that I went super over kind of are offset by the days that I stayed lower, stayed under the target. So you keep on managing your days like this, and at the end of the day, you end up in the same spot as you would if you had the ability to stay on track, like hit the same calorie target every day. Again, because I knew that I was going to have less structure, I needed to be more flexible with my approach. Lastly, I used the knowledge that I acquired through the years of tracking and meal planning to help me follow a more intuitive eating approach. Okay. So my game plan was to hit a range of calories and protein, to focus on weekly averages to allow for days of more flexibility, hit my step goal, hit my water goal, utilize mindful eating to control calories without tracking, and check in with my coach. So I brought along with me my food, my bathroom scale, and my measuring tape to make sure that I got my check-in done. So a little bit more about what I did here. Again, the total weekly calories is what determines whether you gain, lose, or maintain weight. So that's what we focused on. So I could have days where I was a little bit more structured and days where I had more flexibility. I walked a lot to keep movement high. Okay. And on the days that I didn't move as much, again, the days that I was on the road, for example, I reduced my food intake. Number 3, I limited my food to 1 plate following the balanced plate approach. You grab the plate, you divide it in 4. Okay. 1/4 is protein, 1/4 carbs, and half a plate of veggies. Whatever the situation I was in, I was always able to create that plate. And again, I would sometimes eat a little bit more quantity within the quarters, but I would not repeat myself. I would not go for seconds. Okay. That's a rule that I created. Oh my goodness. Why? That's a rule that I created for myself. Okay. The 1 plate rule. Number 4, I had 0 alcohol. Yes, I'm breastfeeding, but I can still have alcohol, at least a little bit, but I didn't have any. And remember about the trade-offs? This is a trade-off that I'm 100% okay making. I would rather have an extra piece of dessert than having a drink. And oh my goodness. Okay. And the longer I go without alcohol, the less I want it. So I did not miss it at all. Number 5, I shared some meals or some food items with my husband so I could taste whatever I wanted, but I ate fewer total calories at the end. Number 6, I took bites instead of eating the whole thing. Remember that I mentioned that in Brazilian families, it is a sin to say no to food. So instead of saying no, I just grabbed a bite, and that was it. Number 7, I fasted or I protein fasted whenever I could. Protein fasting is basically fasting, but just eating protein, and maybe protein and some vegetables. So that was very easy to do, actually. Number 8, I kept my water intake high. So I brought this baby along with me and carried it everywhere. And it was so hot that wasn't a challenge at all to keep my water intake high. Number 9, I focused on quality instead of quantity. So even if I was having a super delicious meal that my aunt cooked, I would savor every single bite, and instead of having like a lot of it, because I knew that by eating very slowly and enjoying every bite would improve my experience with that type of food than having loads of it. Number 10, I focused on having balanced complete meals instead of random snacks to fill in the gaps. So I would have like protein, carbs, fruits and veggies for lunch, for dinner, for breakfast. So I would always have those complete meals, always prioritizing protein. I would always look for ways to include more protein on my plate. Number 12, I focused on eating slowly and mindfully. This is key to making sure that you're not going overboard. This signals your brain that you're satisfied. It sends a signal to your brain that you're satisfied, and it doesn't make you want to eat more. And because you're prioritizing protein, because you're focusing on, having your veggies, having your fruits, that's always going to help with satiety. And number 13, I brought my bathroom scale with me to weigh myself at least twice a week. And this is part of one behavior that helps people to maintain their weight, is to constantly look at their weight. And that was actually helpful. So multiple times a week, I would jump on a scale. weigh myself just to see where I was at, not to dictate my behavior on that day, but again, to have the knowledge, to have that awareness of where I was at. So I never reached a point, because in the past, I would reach a point where I would say, you know what, screw it, I will just go all in. And then I would come back several pounds up, several pounds heavier. And when you have that midway through check in, like just looking at where you're at, it kind of helps you to just have more awareness of what you do. And this is something that I did a lot on barbecues with family, and because again, most of the foods were home cooked, but not cooked by me. So try to identify the most protein dense food available and eat a lot of that, while keeping the portion sizes of the foods that aren't protein dense smaller. All about portion control, girls. So if you're having, let's say, a brisket, maybe have one bun, but enough meat for like 2-3 sandwiches, and limit the sides and make that your meal. Okay. And similar to that, if like fruits and veggies are available, go hard on these, as they will make you feel more satisfied. If you do this first and foremost, it's going to be pretty hard for you to overdo calories too much. Because then you're not even going to want to go for the chips or for the extras or for things like that. Okay. But always start with prioritizing your protein, and managing your portion sizes of the other food items. And it's going to make it really easy for you to not go overboard. That's the strategy I used most of the time, eating the foods that was cooked by family members. I had a very few restaurant meals in this specific trip. I didn't eat a lot on restaurants, but I did a couple times, and this is the strategy that I used. Okay, so choose foods with the fewest ingredients at restaurants. So instead of going for the healthiest quote unquote option, the salad bowls or the poke bowls or the salmon bowls, what usually happens with those healthy options is they're just as caloric as a burger. And I'm not lying. You can go ahead and search for, I don't know, any menu online, and you'll be able to see that some salads are just as caloric as a burger, because there's tons of, yes, there are tons of healthy stuff in there, but lots of calories that comes from it, from fats specifically. So if you mix salmon with avocado, with olive oil, with nuts, that's a lot of fat sources, and fats are really calorie dense. So yes, you're eating healthy things, but you're going over on your calorie budget by a lot. So that will not be conducive to the results that you want with your body composition. So look at restaurants, look for meals that you can easily spot. What is the protein? What is the carb? What is the fat? What is the veggie? Right? For example, a salad with grilled chicken or grilled steak or grilled shrimp, and put all the dressings on the side, or a plate with steak, with steak, potatoes, and veggies. It's super easy to see what exactly is what. And if you are tracking, that's easier to track, and easier to keep track as well of what exactly you're eating, and it's easier on your digestion too. So the fewer ingredients your meal has, the more room for error you are removing from that specific meal. Okay, so like I said, salads with like just the greens and some veggies with grilled chicken, for example, grilled chicken entree, like basically grilled chicken, everything. Whitefish is also a good option. Pork loin is also a great option there. And at the most basic level, just try to choose your meals that are primarily whole foods with minimal ingredients. Okay. And follow your hand portions to structure how much you have of it. Okay. Again, it's all about portion control. So while I'm a big fan of tracking and understanding macros and knowing your numbers, that is a pathway to understanding portion sizes. So when you don't have the app with you, so when you're not tracking, you still know how to control your portion sizes, how to make food choices in a wise way, not just by going for what seems to be healthy, but also managing the amounts of what you're eating. So again, at the most basic level, just try to stick to whole foods and have about 2 palm-sized servings of protein. So your serving of protein should look like this size, about this size. 1 to 2 cupped hands of carbs, which is this much of carbs, and 1 to 2 thumbs of fat. So this much for like nuts or olive oil or things like that. That's about a tablespoon, and a bunch of veggies. That's unlimited. That's pretty much half of the plate. So if you use the hand portion size alongside with the plate rule, the balanced plate, you cannot go wrong with that. You cannot go wrong with that because that will help your appetite as well. So you're not going to be snacking all throughout the day. You don't need that much snacks as you think you need. But yeah, this is a really good way of controlling your portion sizes. Important, okay? Plan and prep ahead before going into your trip, okay? So before I even arrived in Brazil, I ordered a huge box of ready-to-drink protein shakes and delivered at my mom's house, so I could have it on hand when I need it, and I did need it. And it was very, very helpful to either whenever I was on the road or whenever, for example, breakfast in Brazil, it's not very common for people to eat eggs for breakfast or to find egg whites in at the grocery store like we do here in Canada and America. So sometimes it was a struggle finding where am I going to find protein here, right? I would either make some eggs for myself and just like separate the egg whites, or I would have like the regular bread with, deli meat or cheese or things like that, and added 1 bottle of those protein shakes to it. So that was super helpful. That was helpful when I was on the road. And just a heads up there that I knew where I was staying in the first couple of days, my mom's house, right? So I knew that she was always stocked up with fresh fruits, veggies, chicken, beef, pork. I knew that like the basic stuff, she already got it, right? But she didn't, if she didn't, I would do a quick grocery shop and stock up on those things. So let's say that I was going to a different type of vacation and I was staying at a hotel or an Airbnb, I would find a place with a fridge. I would try to find a place with a microwave. I would Instacart some items to my room and make sure that I had, just the basics in there with me. And some staples here for you are like non-perishable lean proteins, such as protein powder, ready-to-drink protein shakes, beef jerky, tuna, salmon, chicken packets. Those are pouches that you can find at the grocery store in the same aisle as the canned stuff. And it's super, super helpful. Tastes really good. Number 2, if a fridge is available, then I would get Greek yogurt, deli meat, frozen, pre-cooked chicken breast, and like low-fat string cheese. And maybe if even, oh gosh, maybe even buy rotisserie chicken, and have some pieces in there as well. I would have some carb sources like rice cakes, tortillas, fruits, microwavable rice, baby carrots, and even some frozen meals are pretty acceptable. Like there are some feed meals that are that you can find in the frozen aisle. In most grocery stores, they are pretty good in terms of macro ratio. Or you could even go ahead and get some meal delivery company to deliver some meals to your room. Again, when you're planning ahead, try to look at, okay, where do you want to go for lunch? Where do you want to go for dinner? Which meals you want to prioritize? Which meals has the holds the highest emotional value to you, and which meals doesn't really matter as much. So you can pretty much stay on point and opt for lean protein, veggies, and just stay really simple to kind of make up for the other meals that you are indulging on. And just before I get into the mindset here, the concept of managing your budget, managing your calorie budget, not only is it true for the weekly averages, but even for your daily structure. Like I said, there are meals that you're going to prioritize more than others. So the whole day, you need to look at it and be really picky about what is worth indulging on and what you can maybe skip a meal and fast, maybe just prioritize your protein and lean vegetables. But overall, you have to compensate somewhere. Going all in and prioritizing everything, you prioritize nothing, right? But go into it with somewhat of a plan, of an idea of what you want to prioritize, so you can go a little bit lighter on the other ones. And when I say lighter, I mean literally lean protein vegetables, lean protein fruits. That's it. That's as simple as it can get, because you are prioritizing protein. You are, by default not getting as much calories from fats or carbs, and you're getting your fiber from fruits and vegetables. Okay. Now, the mindset that needs to be shifted here. You have the power. You have the power. Even when you had even when I had no control over what was being served or how certain foods were cooked, I still had control over how much I chose to put in my mouth. Many women are just by default just disempowering themselves under those situations. Oh, but I don't know how it was cooked, so I'm not even gonna bother. Oh, but there was a lot of foods that wasn't on my plan, so I couldn't control myself. Well, you can control yourself if you want to. If you follow these guidelines that I just shared with you, you can control yourself, and you can have a little bit of everything, a little bit, a bite, right? A little bit of everything. It's not going to derail your progress. But even when you are in situations when it seems like you have no control over all the food that's around you, you can still control how much of it you choose to eat. Okay. So in most cases, I was mindful of what I was eating, but controlling how much of what I was eating was going into my mouth. That was what ultimately helped me control my calorie intake without necessarily tracking my calories. And the last few tips that I'll have for you here, please, for the love of God, don't crash diet before you go into vacation. Don't go into a 6-week shred plan or a juice detox or whatever the case may be, or like you have been screwing up with your diet for the last year and now you decide that you want to get back on track and do this cut and this and that, and now don't do it. Okay, don't do it. Just be very conservative with what you're doing regarding your goals. Be very careful about how you're approaching this as a lifestyle. If you want to go on a fat loss, just know that it needs to have a start date and an end date. Fat loss isn't forever. And if you're going on vacation in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, whatever the case, and you haven't done anything yet to get into a better shape until then, there is still time to do something. Okay. But just know that you cannot undo years of not making progress in just a few weeks. Okay. Don't do that. It'll backfire. Learn how to budget your calories, just like I mentioned here. And as you could see, you can still do that without tracking. Yes, it takes practice. Yes, it takes knowing how to track beforehand. And it takes understanding a little bit more about food beforehand. But just understanding the main concepts that I shared, which is the plate rule, right? Not going for seconds, making sure that you understand your trade-offs, things that you are willing to trade off. Basically, you can't have every single little thing and expect to have results at the same time, right? But as long as you learn those concepts, you eat your food slowly and mindfully, you choose leaner protein sources, you prioritize protein most of the time, you will be managing your calorie budget without necessarily tracking. Limit your alcohol, and if drinking, opt for lower calorie drinks. Drinks can be very, very detrimental to your goals, as it has lots of calories, and not only that, it prevents you from making really good decisions around food. Okay. Decide how to mentally approach the trip. There are always going to be trade-offs for every decision that you make. So make sure you make wise decisions there. There is no right or wrong approach, but knowing what you want and which trade-off you're okay with can help you navigate your vacation with much more awareness and ease. In my example, alcohol, I am 100% okay not having alcohol. And that allows me to have an extra bite of the dessert. But if you want to have both, something has to go. So pick your battles there. If you want to have drinks, maybe one night you want to have drinks, set a limit for how many drinks you want to have, and don't have the dessert. And have the dessert on the next day, but don't have the alcohol. But mixing the two is a very dangerous decision to be making, unless you're trading off with something else. Maybe you're trading off for the rest of the day with going a little bit more simple with your food, right? But there are always trade-offs to be made. And think about ways that you can create memories and enjoy fun activities that aren't necessarily food focused. Going on a walk with your family, going on a hike, going, explore the city, or, even conversations with your family. If you're spending your vacation with your family, you can enjoy those moments without necessarily being obsessed about the food that you are eating. Okay. So that's it. I hope that this was helpful. Let me know. I would love to hear back from you in my DMs on how was this helpful for you. Let me know. Give me feedback. If there's something here that you have questions on, send me the questions. And if this is something like this type of mini training, if this is something that you are interested in, also let me know. I would love to do more of these and teach more. And yeah, give me some ideas of what you need, and I would love to help. But yeah, have a great rest of the day for you.